Yep, all right, it's 6 o'clock. I call this regular meeting of the Rockridge School Board to order. Anything and everything you need to know about past meetings and upcoming meetings is located at rockridgepublicschools.org. And tonight's agenda is online at rockridgepublicschools.org and are at the board table entering this room. I would ask everybody to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for... Okay, any discussion?
Yeah. Said something bad, that's all.
And then I would like to move 10.3, which is the solar people here, to 5.5, right after Cross Anderson's quarterly report. We got a motion by Reardon, you support it?
I'll support.
Support by Yuan. Any other discussion?
I was just asking if you were good with those amendments.
Yeah, with with amendments.
Okay. Any more? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fours.
Item.
Remove number 4.
We could if they're okay with it, we can remove number 4. It's been rescheduled, correct?
Okay.
For June 24th?
Okay. So item 4, so we'll have to all rescind, or you want to just remove it?
Just remove it. It's fine.
Any board members have any problems with that?
No, but
The only other thing I was gonna say, are we going to be posting? Because that. Okay.
We are going to be posting because the Minnesota State High School League, the guidance rules on this is that, yes, a coach can appeal, but they have to, and the board has to listen, and it has to be done in a reasonable manner. There aren't a number of days here. So you had a date available, he cannot make it for whatever reason. I believe we need to post for the position. And he will come back, we will not offer or recommend any hiring until after he has at the next board meeting and said whatever he would like to say. We need to post.
Okay.
All right,
okay, yeah, and then as long as we're still on the agenda, I wanted to ask in your superintendent's report, you don't have what you're gonna be talking about, but I guess I'd like an update, maybe we all should be interested in an update on what your recommended positions. I sent you an email today, later on today. Any additions, deletions of positions, personnel, and or changes in?
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
It'll be a brief update, but yes, I can talk about it.
Because don't be, by the end of June, we have to
You have to approve a budget.
approve a budget, I know, but that goes along with what recommended changes that you might
Yep.
have in duties, assignments, positions, because we just talked about 1 or 2 of them in the
Yep.
committee meeting, so I think it'd be good for us to know before the end of June. Okay, thanks.
okay, so with that, let the record reflect that item 4 has been removed from the agenda as well.
And will be posted, position posted.
And the position posted. Up next is quarterly report from Cross Anderson.
Do we have visitor input? No record.
Excuse me. Do we have any visitor input? Excuse me. Okay, come forward and state your name at the podium.
Timer.
Yep, we got 3 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Paul Peltier. My wife and I and our 4 kids, we moved to the Rockridge District this last July, and we are very happy to have this amazing school that we can call home. This facility is second to none, and it is literally world-class. I've been a teacher for 15 years, and now I have a different role in the community. But I can tell you that what you have is very special, and it's very unique. And there are a lot of schools that would give their eye teeth to have the type of facilities that this community has made an investment in. And so I want to thank you for that. And I want you to know that it is truly world-class and special. And it's almost like you've built a Ferrari in the middle of the Iron Range. And one of the things that I've noticed is that over the last year, it seems like the pit crew isn't all there. The fuel source to make that machine go isn't all there. And that's the staffing level. There are some departments, specifically the music department, that in my opinion, as a former music teacher and as a father of 4 kids in your district, 10, 8, 6, and 3, I want to see them come through an amazing school system that invests in all parts of their humanity and all parts of them. Whether they're into woodshop or music or math or social studies, there's got to be something for everybody. And that's going to take bodies doing the human work of teaching classes and being that student stretch. On the docket sometime in the near future, you're going to vote on a boys' high school hockey coach. What's happening right now is it looks like there's going to be a lot fewer people in the music department, and that's not okay for me and my family. We think that there should be more staff in that department specifically, and don't cut your bantam music kids. Don't cut your junior high stuff. Lessons are a non-negotiable. You got to have them in order for strong development of a program. And just like everybody has their own things that they care deeply about, I, as a former coach, I was a girls swim coach for a long time, I care about all things. But I'm just noticing there's a trend there. You've built this Ferrari. You've had these amazing opportunities for performances on your world-class Minnesota Power stage. There need to be excellent performances on there at all times. And I hope to see that we make movement in that direction specifically. I'm well aware that public comment is not a time for us to interact. I would like to invite you to a conversation with me privately afterwards if you have any questions. I want to thank you for your time. I would like you to also consider that the type of programming you have, especially for front-facing and public engagement programs like your music department, they recruit kids. They're an attraction. They're a reason for people to say yes to this district. Give them lots of reasons to say yes to Rock Ridge like we did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, with no other public input, we'll move on to item 5, the quarterly report from Coach Anderson.
Good evening. Thank you for
You got 3
giving us a
minutes.
little time. Pete Hoffman, Patrick Gallagher, quarterly report. We're actually going to do 2 quarters here today. In May, there were some schedule issues, and I think in July, I don't know if you're going to meet in July, so we thought we would just project the last 20-some days, so we do 2 quarters at a time. So basically, January through June is what we'll give you an update on today. So, as you well know, Rock Ridge High School is complete, Laurentian is complete, North Star is in progress, but nearing completion. And then we've got the demolition projects going. We'll give you a little update on where we're at on that for both. Gilbert is substantially completed, and Evelyn has just begun as of today. And then we still do have progress going in this building, which I apologize for the heating system not being on, but that's a part of that process. We had to disconnect all your old units and haul them out. We've got the new units that we're hooking up right now and tying that ductwork in. So got a fan back there, and we'll try to keep this somewhat tolerable for you. We'll go down our normal for each of the projects that are active, those 3 that we just talked about, the schedule, the safety, the quality, and the budget. And we redid, this is a draw schedule that we use for your financial side as well. But just to give you more of the visual of where we're at on this with North Star nearing completion. Now this last part here is mostly the site work that you've seen on the south side of North Star that Pete will give you an update on. And then we've got the demo portion, which really gets pretty substantially complete in December timeframe, but then we have to come back in May and do the planting and that type of thing to get it established for turf. Okay? And then the last piece is for the phase 2 mechanical, we're about a month away from that. So we'll get that completed as well. So the remaining work, the building warranty items, 11-month walkthrough in the high school. We will be done with that on the 9th of August. Some of those things were some long lead time items that we still needed to get. And we've got some work going on over there, but we'll be wrapped up with that by the 9th of August. Safety. So, still have about 40 workers out there. We have about 8 contractors between all of the 3 projects. Some come on, some come off. And then our OSHA consultation program is completed, but it went quite well. We did not have any citations. And OSHA is very happy with your projects and the way you take safety seriously. So that is a good thing to know. Then on the quality side, Pete will give you a little more in-depth on those projects that we still have active and their budgets.
Yeah, so a little update on demo. Chelsea couldn't make it. She's on kid duty tonight, so I'm taking over for her tonight. Over at Gilbert, like Patrick said, is substantially complete. Everything got seeded and hayed, and then they actually did plow it in. So that's the picture with the tractor, in case you're wondering what that was all about. Just so that stuff wasn't blowing around all over the city, that kind of thing. So it's looking really nice over there.
All that rain helped actually for that. Also the mosquitoes, but for that, it worked out really well.
We'll have some other Evelith ones as we get further along in the presentation. So over at North Star, you're going to see some things jumping back and forth. We got some pictures in May, some in February, some in April, just to kind of give you a sense of the project over the last 2 quarters. So this was taken in May, the front entry, as you can see, it's really starting to look like the rendering here sent over by the design team. And actually there's a lot more concrete poured now since this photo. So it's going to really start coming together here over the next month. So over at the main entry, got our fancy brick wall here. Nothing really changed since February on that. Weird February picture with no snow. Thought that was interesting.
Pete, what's that wood on the outside? Is that?
It's a thermally modified wood siding.
Thermally modified.
Yeah, so it's like fire resistant siding.
Is it wood though, or is it not wood?
Yep, it's wood.
What kind of wood?
Don't know.
I mean, it's got such pattern to it, I wonder what kind of is it some kind of zebra stripe or what?
All I know is they pump a lot of chemicals into it, so it's
Okay.
non-combustible, or fire resistant, I should say.
Otherwise, you lose the rating that you have for the building for fire sprinkler and such. So it has to be, all the wood that's in that building is fire rated.
So is that pattern on it, that wood pattern, is it like just a pattern or is that?
It's
It's
the actual wood.
like random, yeah.
But it's the actual wood.
Oh,
grain.
yeah, it's the wood grain, yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
So it
it's
just
not a
takes the stain
veneer.
different.
it's not pressed on.
No,
Right.
it's not an IKEA technique.
So up on 3rd floor, coming inside the building now, the informal learning area. You see furniture's installed over the last couple of months here, or I should say last couple of weeks. Now the teachers have been moving in, so there's a lot of stuff if you go over there now. They're starting to make it home. Coming over to the media center in the center of the building. So projectors are up for the marker board screen. This is like the library area. That is stuffed full of books now. Didn't realize we had that many books still. Main common, so when you come in the main entry, that's how that turned out. They did a wonderful job on that. That's all the fluid ply flooring, the different pattern in there. All your acoustical clouds, and then the woodwork in there, and that is ash. I did know that one. So.
I asked when we were there, somebody told me it was ash.
Yeah.
Some kind of ash.
Then looking back from the commons towards the main entry, just another angle. As you see, all the furniture's in there. Still wrapping that up. So outside, this is that slope on the south end of the building that's going to get turf on it. And then the play area with some rubber mounds here. And it'll be all synthetic turf around those mounds. Those are all poured in concrete now already. So we're all ready for turf actually this week, I believe.
What are those mounts for?
Like play mounds.
Oh, and they're going to be rubberized.
They're going to be rubber. Yeah, they'll coat them in rubber so the kids can run up and roll down and jump off them. Yeah. So there's some just different angles of the south end of the building. There it says they were pouring the slope. That was a fun 4-day. So looking from 3rd Street entrance, kind of where 3rd Street used to be, I should say. Just kind of give an overall site view. Like I said, a lot of this concrete's poured already over the last month. Then from the loading dock area, the existing gym, we're looking to the south. So that's where the basketball court will be and the rest of the landscaping out there. So standing in the middle of the site, looking north, down the emergency lane, and then I just spun right around and looking south. So I think that'll be a neat one next time we meet. A concrete board and hopefully some lighting. So progress on the playground happened really quick once they showed up. So we had our curb container poured, got it all laid out and holes drilled. They set the equipment and finished up the equipment all within like a week's time. So went by really fast. Main entry, here's the new sign. So some older pictures from February and April of the northeast corner of the building. And on the north side of the building, looking to the east, this is the entry that we're using for moving stuff into the building for the teachers. The Wolverine Ninja Gym down the basement below the existing gym. So progress on that. Got their warp walls, climbing wall, both sides. And then wondering when you guys wanted to take your next board tour. We were thinking maybe August sometime before the grand opening. Get the private tour.
Sounds good to me.
That works out.
Mhm.
So the second Monday, does that work?
How many meetings?
Yeah, probably
Two.
Probably the first meeting out of August.
Yeah, first meeting.
The 12th.
Okay.
So do you have any pictures of those pits or something?
Sorry, what's that?
No, that's okay. Do you have any pictures on the outside? You had explained about some kind of pits there for kicking balls or something in Virginia?
The pits for kicking balls.
I
Oh, Gaga pits.
Oh, yeah,
No, they're not installed yet.
but, okay, you don't have any pictures of those.
No, they're like a
Gaga pits.
octagon, and they, I don't know, throw the ball or kick the ball at each other or something.
How many of those are there?
Two or two?
I feel like there's two.
Before you mentioned that, I never heard of Gaga.
Me either, till this job.
So, Pat, that meeting will,
August 12th.
August 12th at 4:30.
4:30.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on photos of North Star or Gilbert demo?
Oh, well, the question is, good job on the seating. I got lots of praise.
Oh, well, that's
Because people were waiting and wondering when they were gonna seat it, so, and I think I talked to Pat or somebody about when that was gonna happen.
okay.
Talked to somebody. It's Pat.
We had quite a rain thing where it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed,
Good job.
and we got her.
All right, budget update. So this is just updating the budget and graphic from all the previously approved things from previous board meetings. So the funding that was added for the roof access for the phase 2 in this building. The added FF&E that was approved a while back. And both the Gilbert and Evelyn demo are now included in the demo. And then the increased scope over at North Star for the miscellaneous items. So that was all approved previously, it's just updated numbers now. So we're up to a total of 212 million. Spent 198 million, so about 93% complete total. So North Star specifically, because we are saying this is through June, there's 2 months left, so it's really coming to an end quickly. Hopefully that rain holds off so we can wrap up on time. So 92% complete there. Expenditures sitting at about 85%. Those will obviously catch up by the end over the next couple months. Total budget's 41 million. Nothing changed there since the last time. Contingency, there's still a little bit left, but it'll probably be used up by the end with some unforeseens and changes. So, substantially complete by 16 August. And then we're gonna have the grand opening, I think that next week, and we'll do some punch list things, get wrapped up and get out of your hair before school starts. Demo, so this one's ever changing. Last time, I think we were up to like 80-some% or 90%, and now when Evelyn got added, it dropped that down percentage-wise. So we're up to just over 1 million square feet of demolition, which is quite the number. Pretty impressive. So Evelyn campus remains, so everything is through Gilbert. Gilbert contingency is completely spent over there with some unforeseen abatement things, tennis court, those kind of items.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit, it was all below grade. So we were sitting with almost all of our contingency. And then we started to hit pipes and we had to trace those off to the property lines. And by the time, and then the tennis courts as well, they were tested on the surface. They didn't have any hazardous materials. Peeled up the first layer, the second layer had hazardous materials. So we had to abate all that. So that's where that went from the last time we gave you an update on the budget. It's abatement of site work type items as opposed to in the building.
And that tennis court one, I think it was a tennis court underneath a tennis court.
Exactly.
Like they just built right on top of it.
But they're all gone now.
They're all gone now. So 50% spent on expenditures right now. You'll start to see that climb as Evelyn continues. And there's a good contingency over at Evelyn for any unforeseens that may come up. There's a lot of site utility stuff over there. It's a big site, lots of buildings. So we wanted to make sure that we were covered there. So overall budget, just kind of a big overview. Costs through the Virginia demo, then the Gilbert ending amount of just over 2 million, and then the Evelyn campus that was approved. That's how we get to the 12.6. Overview. And here's an update on the Evelyn from today. Thank you, Patrick. Sent over some pictures. They're just cruising right along. I don't know if you got anything else on that.
No, they're still working right now. They just started demoing today, and I think several of you drove by. We've got a good system up there to keep the dust down. Got quite a few neighbors that are watching, obviously, as usual, and I think it's going quite well. Wade is doing a good job communicating with all the neighbors and making things come together. We'll continue through the through the science wing, right?
I went by there today and there was no dust. I didn't see any dust.
It's gonna
Flying.
rain for the next 2 days.
Yeah.
So we are working through the science wing and into the high school. We'll take this whole piece out first and then work our way this way. One of the things is that existing gym has got kind of like a spring underneath it. We have like 4 feet of water in the basement now that the power's been shut off, and found out that you've had some pumps running there nonstop for I don't know how many years just to keep that water from accumulating. Shouldn't be a problem for us on demo. It's just we may have to tie it into some drain tiles or a storm sewer or something. So anyway, so any questions on the demo itself? This is something that we met with the facilities group, the building and grounds, and there has. Did you want to introduce this a little bit, Dr. Schmidt?
Yes, members of the board and members of the public watching. We've had a change here that could happen. Obviously, the school board, you will need to weigh in on that. But what's happened is the city of Belleville, prior to fairly recently, in December, they told you to demolish everything. They didn't want anything. Then you received a letter. I think you saw it at the most recent school board meetings where they were asking to keep the tennis courts and to also keep the playground. And the latest part is the city of Belleville is talking, and they brought this up we had a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting recently, and that's why this is coming to you now, is that there is a possibility that the city of Belleville may ask you to not demolish the gym, band, music, weight room area. This is the area that Pete is now swirling around with his pointer right there. And they are taking a look at it to see if it is feasible for the city of Evelyn and the Evelyn taxpayers to acquire that property, because you do have agreement right now with the city of Evelyn to sell everything, the property to the city of Evelyn for $500,000. This is minus that gym, music areas, locker rooms we're talking about. So they are talking internally, and they have talked to you, and Pat will go over what that would mean and how it would. But I want to let the board know about a major thing you have to pay attention to, is that if the city of Belleville tells you they want to keep that area, that's fine, if the city of Belleville would like to do that, but you can't pay for it. There are some extra costs that are going to be incurred as far as saving that. You've got to seal it up, close it off, make the water so critters can't get into it, etc. And the city of Evelyn saw a report from Widseth that ballparked that at $600,000. So if the city of Evelyn tells you they want to keep it, that's fine. You can't use your bond money from all over the entire district to help the city of Evelyn out. The same thing is, you can't use bond money to help the city of Virginia out on a building project, and you can't help the city of Gilbert out using your bond proceeds. So if the city of Evelyn wants to do this, you absolutely can do this, and we'll work on the agreement. So tonight you're going to hear about it, but you're not making any decisions tonight. But however, if the city of Evelyn asks you to keep that building, you will need to make a decision at the next board meeting, which will be the 24th, because we have to know whether the city of Belleville and the school board want to collectively save that building, because abatement and demo was going full bore, and you cannot afford to have anything slow down demolition, because it's going to cost you more if we have machines idling, workers idling, while decisions are being discussed. This is not a new topic. This has been around for years, so hopefully the city of Belleville will let you know promptly and quickly what they want to do about it. But I want to give you the backstory about what you can and can't do money-wise. Now, what this might mean is that maybe there has to be a new purchase agreement, and that would have to happen, whereby if the city of Belleville tells you to keep it, my recommendation to the board would be that they pay the extra amount for what it's going to cost to board it up, seal it in. And I'm not talking about mechanicals or HVAC. I'm just talking about sealing the building up, that we would increase the purchase price by that amount, and that would then be fair, and then the city of Belleville would pay for that. But that is yet to be determined how that would. But I'm alerting you that it's coming, that discussion. So I think Pat now is going to tell you what would happen from a demolition if we kept that area.
But before Pat, I thought that the city already sent us a letter that they wanted it, and that the meeting I was at, that they were going back to rewrite the purchase agreement.
They did, but you don't have anything official from the city of Belleville right
I
now.
thought we had a letter.
So it's coming, but you don't have an agreement.
We don't have a letter already.
Because you as a school board, you haven't changed your mind officially. The city of Belleville I believe, is going to come to you with a different agreement, but you have to also agree to it. So, but the city of Belleville, you don't have the agreement.
I
So
understand.
can't-
I'm not talking about the agreement now, because we received, did we not receive a letter from the
You
city of
did.
Evelyn that they want whatever is in green? Okay, so we got that. So we know that they want that.
And we were notified of that, so we are not going to touch that area until the 24th, and that's why that date is so critical.
So they've already said that they want it. I want to make that clear.
Right, but I don't think there were no dollar amounts in the letter that we
No,
received.
but no.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
That's
And then
correct.
they are working on, with their attorneys, on a revised agreement to come back to us.
Yes.
Is that
but
correct?
At the time they sent you the letter, they did not know what the costs would be to keep the building. They do now have an approximation, so that's what they need to talk about on their side before they approach you with the revised agreement.
So we're basically waiting for the official amount that they're.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter what the amount is for, they will take care of that amount, so I guess it doesn't matter what that amount is if they're willing to pay for it. Which it indicated to me that they were, that they said, yes, we would pay the extra money that it would cost.
We need a dollar amount attached to that agreement.
To make an official.
Yeah, to make it official.
Oh, a dollar amount,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we talked about another aspect of it, but maybe we'll just talk about it at the end of the month. About the net savings that we will have when, for not demoing that building, and then there are offsets, and there's got to be a net amount of money
That we would be saving.
that we might be saving.
Might.
I
Might.
probably
Because we
waiting
have
for
to-
those.
But
Well,
then the city of Evelyn would be footing the bill for any kind of, the taxpayers of just Evelyn would be paying for any other, like, heating things or any other renovations that need to be done to make it, so there's not water underneath it and those kinds of things.
Basically, three budgets, if you want to think about it that way, is how much is the city of Evelyn going to have to pay you by increasing your purchase price to spare that building and to selectively demolish it, which we'll talk in a minute here, and to leave that building and then just temporary enclose it like Dr. Schmidt said. So that's one number, that's about $600,000 from Widseth. And so that's the one. The second number would be how much will the district save by not demolishing that between you and your contractor that's doing the demolition. So that's the second number. And then the third number is what is the city of Evelyn got to pay to get this building up and operational, which involves mechanical, electrical systems, and then permanent skins on the outside of the building, infilling with brick and that type of thing. So those two numbers are on the city of Evelyn side. The one number is the one that's in the school district.
I thought that $600,000 reflected what the city, they got a cost for a new heating system. It wasn't for,
It is not.
it's
No.
not,
So and that would not be of any concern to the school district as far as that, if I can say that. Your interest is how is your contractor, Rachel Contracting, going to be affected by this and your abatement contractors so that it doesn't cost you any money. And that's what we've talked about so far.
Do we have any idea what the district would save?
We know that in the public bidding, we actually bid it in pieces in kind of anticipating that something like this might come in at the last minute, and lo and behold, it did. About $250,000 is what that area was bid at. Now, we have not gone back to the contractor and said, okay, we're gonna hold you to this 250, but, so it's about $250,000 on the low bidder that you've currently contracted with, Rachel Contracting, and Landmeyer, who was the second bidder, was about 260. So they were pretty comparable prices for the credit for that gym. One of the things you have to look at if you do the square footage on that, this gym is actually the cheapest square footage you will demo in the entire school district. Why is that? It doesn't have a lot of asbestos in it because it was built later. It only has a few things like ballasts in the lights and thermostats and that type of thing, to the tune of about $14,000 is all your abatement is on that building. The second thing is it has three big boxes. A big gym, which has a lot of air, which means it isn't cubic yards of walls, and that's cheaper for a demo contractor to get rid of. Then it's got a large area that the band was in, and then it's got the large area that used to be a cafeteria, which was then converted to a weight room. When you have big areas like that, that's cheaper to demo because you don't have as many cubic yards. So it is the cheapest square footage to demolish, so you get the least amount of money back. That's why I wanted to give you the second bidder's amount as well, so that you know that it was in a competitive bid scenario. That is the dollar amount, about $250,000.
did you say that water is now in the old gym? That water-
I'm sorry, not this gym that they're gonna save. The old
No,
gym
no,
in
that,
the
I
high
just
school.
wanted to clarify.
It's in the basement, in the basement of the
Basement
old,
of the old gym.
yeah. About 4 feet of water down there right now. Yeah.
So Pat, in a minute, it might help for you to go over some of the details for the board and those watching, but members of the board, you need to know, I am gonna give you my strongest recommendation I've ever given you. You do not help the city of Belleville pay for saving that building, because you're gonna get into a lawsuit on this one. And it's either gonna come from Evelyn, or it's gonna come from Virginia, or it's gonna come from Gilbert. You cannot use school funds to help another city, a different entity, do a building project or construction, something like that. Yes, you may save a couple $100,000, but you can't turn around and give that to the city of Evelyn. So I just want to be very clear on that one, right? You can do it, but then you're going to deserve everything you get down the road.
I have a question. So we're talking about not demoing it, but then now that is in the middle of a demo area. So yes, it might save us some money, but then in turn, it might cost us more money because now we have to work around it. Is that correct?
We did a little work on that, so let me go through it a little bit and I can answer that question. So initially, we got a verbal, hey, we want to hang on to that playground so that the kids have it to play with and not a big deal, right? Then we got the, oh, we need to hang on to those tennis courts. Now that got a little dicier because the way our bid documents are set up is we showed a road going right through here and it was going to be come in, load up, and haul out all that debris from the high school itself. So we pushed that over to our contractor, and it's actually an ad to not demo those two. It's not a big ad because there's a slight credit on the playground, and then there's an ad for the double handling of that material, and it only amounted to about $11,000. So $11,000, $12,000. If you decide to go ahead and demo this, but leave them the tennis court and the playground, is about $12,000. And we've never really talked that before, but we just got some of these numbers. Then we started looking at this, well, there's a parking lot right here, and you need to get into this building with ADA accessible type sidewalks, one through here, and one over to here. So we looked at keeping those in. If we leave all of that in these trees as well, there are pipes, two main ones, a steam line and a water line that run up the hill here that feed Franklin. We would leave those, and we've talked to the city about that, we would leave those in and we would not disturb anything in this green area at all. We would not touch anything in there except right at the connection points. So we would cut off the walkway that comes from the high school. A little cost there. We have to saw each one of those columns. It's a concrete column that's built into a retaining wall. If we just pull that column out, the retaining wall will fall down and the tennis court will all collapse. So we'll have to saw cut those 7 columns and remove that and then fill this in with a wall. We're looking at a 6-inch stud wall that we would put cement board on that would last a few years if the city doesn't get around to it for a while. Insulate the wall, put in a vapor barrier, and put sheetrock on the inside but not finish it. That's what we are looking to do in that opening. This opening on this side, there's actually a set of doors that come in here, a set of doors that come in here, a set of doors that leads here to go over to the new gym, and a set of doors that go to Franklin. We're looking to adapt that set of doors that used to go to Franklin, take the hardware, put it around the other way so the panic hardware is on the inside, be a little ugly, but just patch it up and make it waterproof. And that's what we would do for that building. Everything else we would leave. And then when it comes to the whole mechanical, electrical, Widseth is working with the city of Evelyn on that. Now we, Kraus Anderson, might end up doing that work, but not working for you. We'd be working for the city. Because we know quite a bit about the utilities. We've been investigating this from a demolition standpoint. Then a couple of things that we clarified. There are a couple of basketball hoops over here and an old slide. That would still be demolished because that's not part of the, I'll call it the modern playground. And We have already fenced around this so the kids can continue to play in that playground while we're demolishing all of this. May have to shut it down for a couple of days when we start to do this part of Franklin, but we want to keep that open as long as we can. And then just to clarify up here in the stadium, and we did this with the city, there are irrigation pipes that run under the football field, but if we were to tear those up, we'd tear the entire turf up, and they decided that that would be fine to leave those. They're just small irrigation pipes. But we will take out the pump and the main feeder that kind of cuts through this corner that used to feed that irrigation. We'll take that out. And we'll leave that baseball field that's kind of full of weeds. So everything inside of the track that runs around here, we are going to just leave as is and demolish everything that's on the outside. And when we demolish this up here, we have to leave a piece of the foundation in, because if we remove that, similar to the tennis court, where the tennis court's gonna fall in, well, the street will fall in if we demolish that. So the city's aware of that, as well as a section over here in the high school. Same situation where we're right up against the street. We'll take it below grade, you'll never see it, but the city will know it's there. So that really describes where we're at. We're also gonna leave where the hockey rink used to be. We're gonna take all that out, but we're gonna leave it level, because at one time we were looking to just slope this down. We'll leave it level so they can put another hockey rink in there at a later date. Everything I just described to you is in that number that we've given the city of Evelyn, and you'll be covered on that without problem.
Now, Pat, make the public aware that the trees in front of the high school have to be removed for,
Yes,
I don't know what the reason was, but.
these are nice trees down here, but those, as far as the way the bid was put together from our bid documents, are going to get removed, because they're going to slope, that's pretty steep slope coming up to the high school. They're gonna cut that back and reuse some of that soil. That's why the prices are, it's factored into the price, so you could get a cheaper bid price on that. So those trees will go away. We'll leave these, especially if we can leave that whole green area, we'll leave all those trees there. And we'll leave these over by the hockey arena as well. And we'll leave these if you decide to give that to Evelyn. If you don't, we'll probably lose a couple trees here when we go to take out the steam line and the water line. But we'll try to keep every tree we can. Kind of like what we did on junior high and manual arts.
Hey, Pat, channeling your inner Jimmy Connors, give me a 1 to 10 on the quality of those tennis courts. They look pretty tough shape from when I drive by.
Oh, I haven't assessed them from that standpoint, to be honest with you. I just looked at the retaining wall there. Yeah, I'd have to look at them again, honestly. I
See a bunch of weeds and trees growing through them now.
And we were gonna use it for a staging area, so we didn't care too much about the quality at the time, but I can look at that and give you an answer on that, but I have not looked at it from that standpoint. Were they cracked?
Yep.
And once they start cracking and the water gets below into the subgrade, you've got some dollars there involved. And honestly, that's the part that's costing you a little money, but we already went, because we got that letter that we might want to keep, that you wanted to keep those, that the city wanted you to keep those, so that's why we're demolishing on the other side of the building right now. Otherwise, we were going to start over on that side, bring everything to the tennis courts. So it's already affecting, even though you haven't made a decision yet, just trying to preserve that as best we can. Any questions? We left a big plan there if you want to look at that, and then you've got this in your board packet as well. So the only thing you don't have are the previous slides of an hour's old status of the Evelyn demo. It's going to go quick, and if you watch these demo projects before, to get them on the ground is relatively quick, and then it's like, what's going on? It's taking weeks and weeks. Well, they have to separate everything. Concrete separated from metal, separated from rebar, and then haul them to the correct locations. That's just the way it is nowadays. The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency was just there this week. They walked through the entire building. They have to do that before we can bring it to a landfill. And there were some more things that had to be removed from the building, but we're in full compliance with MPCA. So that's where that's at.
Pat, you talked about some pipes in Gilbert being removed,
Yes,
and do we have the same situation in any of these areas?
it is possible. we think it is very possible, because we think we've got them all traced, but we thought we had them all traced in Gilbert too. There's, you never know, because some of them were from like old buildings, and there used to be an old boiler building over there, and all of that was unforeseen. So it is possible, which is why Pete said we've held a good contingency for Evelyn in case.
Through that parking lot and over across the street maybe. And then those pipes, you said that because the city wanted that area in front of the new complex there. Those pipes are gonna stay and that would be their responsibility? Yeah, in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
And those, we're pretty sure have some asbestos insulation on them. That's similar to what we had over at Gilbert. We'll know for sure when we start, we have dug up right here right now, and once we get down to that steam line and start working that one over, then we'll know better.
So that light blue line is the steam line there? And then
Yeah,
there's a water line to the north of that runs east and west and then to the middle.
And I do believe that was replaced probably 8 years ago, but I don't know if they took out the old stuff.
and that's very true, and that's what we found at Gilbert. Even though there were new lines that were servicing the building, there were old lines that nobody, like 2 buildings ago, that were underground. We don't go looking for them, but when we're doing the foundations, if we find them, we have to take them out, because you can't sell the property without disclosing or removing it, so.
I just hope the citizens of Evelyn proper are watching this and reach out to the board members, whether they are for it or against it.
Council members. The councilman.
No, reach out to the council members and reach out, because we have to make a decision whether we're gonna let this happen. So they can, if the city of Evelyn citizens, taxpayers want to assume all that liability, it's not Evelyn, it's not Gilbert, it's not Fayette, it's not Virginia, it's the city of Evelyn proper that's gonna be liable for this if it fails. What happens if it fails, Pat? What was the stipulation that if this doesn't work for the city of Evelyn, they'd be on the hook for demoing it in the future?
Oh, it would be that 250,000, but who knows when they would demolish it, right?
So if the plan doesn't work for the city of Evelyn, the city of Evelyn will be responsible for tearing it down if their business plan doesn't work.
But, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I can have all the people from Evelyn that want to call me. If the city of Evelyn Council presents us with a bid and a proposal, ours is the school business. Ours is not the city of Evelyn business. So I just want to, I don't need people from Evelyn calling me and telling me that they like this proposal or don't. They can call I believe there's how many, Paul, like 4 or 5 on the city council?
Or with the mayor?
4 plus a mayor.
So they can call them, and if they want to stop it or keep it going, just thought I'd let you,
All right.
since you voiced yours.
So one of the things that happens is when we start knocking the building down, now all of a sudden everybody cares, right?
Yeah.
We saw that today. We've had at least 5 phone calls from concerned neighbors already that Wade is doing a great job of fielding. One came to our office that actually used your name, Polly, which I know Wade talked to you about it.
I want you to know that I received calls. I didn't,
Yep.
I made calls.
So back to what you were
I listen
saying,
to what
Chairman,
everybody
is
tells me.
I think you're going to get more and more people that are going to ask questions and get more involved in this. They only have 2 weeks.
Right.
But, we can't go longer than 2 weeks without starting to cost you even more money, because we have to keep this going. Another question?
And I'd just like to comment too that about the taxpayers of Evelyn. We don't know if they're gonna get money from the state, from IRRB, other grants and everything, so you can't automatically assume it's gonna fall on the taxpayers. And, I'll just leave it at that for now.
I mean, the purchase of it.
Maybe they have funds.
Taxpayers, I believe.
They might have funds. I don't think they would go into this if they didn't have the money to do it. Because I've been following their meetings and reading their minutes, and they believe they have the funds, so.
I wish them the best.
No grocery store.
All right, one more quick project and then we're off your podium.
2 projects, 1 building, this one right here. District admin building, mechanical upgrade phase 1. Final C of O was received for that. And all we have left is to spray foam some of the steel structure up there. But it's been signed off already.
The state mandated some additional spray foam on a beam that wasn't on the plans, so we had to go back and do that.
And then the mechanical two, that's the one that's going on right now that Pat mentioned earlier, and that's supposed to wrap up by mid-July. So, and your heating and cooling system should work in here just fine.
So just a quick update on that. Your units are set in your mechanical room. We have to put the units on the roof. That's going to happen this week. We've removed all of your old units that are on the outside, and then you'll see us demolish those slabs. After we infill with brick on each of those, then we'll demolish those slabs and those brick enclosures. Get those out of the way, get it all seated so that it looks nice out there by the time school starts. At the same time, we're hooking all the ductwork in here. We've kind of inconvenienced a few of your people in the district as we had to get in and do some ductwork within their offices. But Brent Wells is doing a great job working with your staff, I think, Noel, and
Yep.
making that happen. The only unfortunate thing is it's warm today and you don't have any air conditioning.
Yeah, I see Brent all the time. He's either looking up or he's looking down or he's looking sideways at something.
All right.
That's all we have.
Any questions for Carl Sanderson? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Up next is 10.3 was moved to 5.5. We're going to talk about the solar project with action after his presentation. So come on up to the table and up to the podium and state your name.
All right, thanks for having me. I'm Darren Dufresne with Ideal Energies. We're gonna save you guys money, not cost you money, so.
Should
So
put
we
him
put
first.
on April 22nd, my colleague, Rich Ragetz was here, and the board approved the solar project. And we put in the final application with the Minnesota Department of Commerce this last Friday on June 7th. It was submitted, and we're hoping here in the next, 4 to 5 weeks, you guys will get approval. We've done over 44 schools now, and we haven't had one through the Minnesota Department of Schools, Solar for Schools program that has not been approved for the funding. You guys have $500,000 for the district. We're proposing, as you guys know, a 348 kW system on Laurentian Elementary. The reason we're doing that is Minnesota Power is willing to go larger than a 4 kW system. And I didn't bring, I have handouts of the presentation again if you guys want to review it, but really, I guess the reason for being here tonight is to enter into the resolution, enter the guaranteed energy savings contract with you guys and to move forward with the project with Rock Ridge. So I don't know if you guys have any questions or.
Any questions for the gentleman? So we're taking a roll call vote just to move forward, correct? Okay, any questions?
We need a motion. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution that's presented.
Motion by Director Reardon. Support. Support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? None being had. Director Reardon.
Aye.
Director Lotiger.
Aye.
Director Yuhas.
Yes.
Director Addy, yes. Director Dahl.
Yes.
Director Westby.
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming up.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. Enjoy your trip back to cities. Okay. Item 6. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Director Yuhas, support by Director Dahl.
I'd like to discuss number 26.
Okay, hang on. Okay, all right, so the discussion is number 26, okay,
And just a quick question on 24.
and number 24. So we'll do 24 first.
I see that's assistant coach, and we just eliminated,
Hang on.
we eliminated a lot of assistant coaches in other
24.
sports.
Want to shed some light on 6.24?
Yes, it's a different position, going from junior high girls swimming to assistant girls swimming. So I don't know if you consider that a promotion or what, so it's a different position she's going to. So that's why it has to go to the board. And yes, this could be as a result of, we needed to cut back a coaching position in each one. But this is switching a different position within swimming.
So which one is a higher position? Girls swimming?
We eliminated assistant head coaches, not all assistant coaches.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
Yes.
All assistants to the head
We,
coaches
we, we eliminated assistant head coaches, but not assistant coaches.
on all sports? On all sports we did?
I'm not sure if that's all
I don't
sports.
think- I don't think it's
I
all.
don't think it was all.
It was situational, depending what the sport was.
Okay, so this is not an assistant to the girls swimming coach. This is another assistant. Because will we have an assistant to the coaches? Will we have an assistant to the high school swimming coach?
The head coach.
Head coach, yeah.
Will there just be one coach for?
Yeah, for swimming.
Who's on first?
That's it. And so this is a different thing, assistant girls swimming coach.
Yes, and this is with your activity directors working with the swimming coaches as far as how they wanted to do this. This is what they wanted to do.
Well, I know what they wanted to do that, but it's coming before us for approval. So it's not the
Not assistant head coach, it's an assistant coach, which is, the assistant head coach is at a higher rate of pay.
we have an assistant to the head coach in swimming.
We have assistant
I guess
coaches, that's.
we have two
I don't know,
coaches
I just always envisioned or always thought that there's a head coach, there's a JV coach, there's the junior high coaches, which would be, 7th and 8th grade, and there's like a C team coach, thinking volleyball wise. I guess, when you're saying assistant girls swimming coach, is that a JV?
So how about this? We will bring to the board all of the sports with all of the, after one has been eliminated, what they're called and how that works. So you have all of the sports and can look at them all at once.
Be great.
We'll do
I
that.
think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should too.
Okay, we'll leave that one then. And 26, this seems to be after the fact. A substance abuse prevention grant youth leader for, that the season is already over and the person is leaving us, and this is after the fact.
It is, however,
We didn't pay her?
no, we didn't. However, she did the job. We're following the teacher contract, so we believe the right thing to do is to, even though the person is leaving, they've already performed the service.
Okay, I just wondered why we didn't pay her already, and this is after the fact.
It happens occasionally.
Okay, that's a simple one, thanks.
Okay. Any more discussion on the agenda? None being had, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alrighty. Moving along to 7.1, all right? Reports. Right. 7.1, results of the PC and student survey with Cassandra Haynes.
Good evening, board. Thank you so much for taking the time to have me here today. I know your agenda is quite full. I'm here to share with you the results of our positive community norms student survey that we did back in February. Because you have so much on your plate, I'm going to take just a moment for folks to rewind a little bit and put this in context so you know what the data means. So the framework that we work under is the Positive Community Norms Framework, which was developed by the Montana Institute and Dr. Jeff Linkenbach. This has been used for over 30 years. There's a lot of data behind how and why this works. And really it's just based on norms theory that says that we tend to do or believe what we think that most people do or believe, and often what we think is wrong. This is an evidence-based approach, which is why Rockridge chose to use it when we applied for this grant. It's also used by the Centers for Disease Control, it's used by SAMHSA, it's used to prevent child maltreatment, It's used on the West Coast to prevent drunk driving, and it's used by the University of Michigan to encourage students to utilize mental health services. In the state of Minnesota, we use it to prevent child substance use. This is our logic model, so we uncover the positive. That's largely through the use of one-on-one conversations and surveys. We measure gaps in actual use versus misperceptions of use. If there are misperceptions, we challenge those misperceptions, and then that leads to increasing health, and I'll show you why. So we are in the 4th iteration of a 5-year grant. So there are 9 of us that make up, across the state of Minnesota, that make up cohort 4. The farthest away is Jackson County, down by the Iowa border, and then to the west, DFG by Moorhead. So we are spread out all across Minnesota. So this information, just to show you how it works and why it works, or that it works, is from cohort 2. So you can see in 2012, those students were asked how often they thought most of their peers drank. So in 2012, 80% of those students thought that most of their peers drank. 5 years later, when they were asked again, 49% thought that most of their peers drank. And another 2 years later, in 2019, only 38% of those students thought that their peers had drank in the last 30 days. Then we look at the actual norm. So this is what students are actually doing, not what students think. In 2012, 73% of those students were not drinking. So most of those students were already not drinking. 5 years later, that had increased to 86% not drinking. And then in 2019, 90% were not drinking, which is fantastic. But you can see that as the misperception is corrected, use goes down, because we like to do and think what most people do and think. That's just how we get along in society. So what we see through this approach is that we start with campaign recognition. So we just ask, have you seen signs that say most Rockridge students don't drink? Have you seen signs that say most Rockridge students don't vape? If you walk into our building, you will see that. All of our students at the beginning of the year received a shirt that said it. All of our staff in the high school received a shirt that said it. If you've been to any of our athletic games, there are sponsorships out with that messaging on it. It's on our dance team's backpacks. It's on our choir folders. Greg Foster brought a group of his students, and they had messaging with them. So I really try to work hard, and my team works hard to make sure that we're reaching kids where they're at, not just football players, but basketball players, choir kids, industrial tech kids, kids all over. So we start with campaign recognition. That's what we want to see first. That leads to a change in misperception, which will eventually lead to a change in behaviors and attitude. And this isn't just wishful thinking and the power of positive thinking. This is, like I said, 30 years of data that shows that this happens. So we started by asking students at Rockridge, how often have you seen or heard this message? So this is not a trend yet. This is just 2 points in time. But last year we asked, and 60% of our students said that they had seen that message monthly or more often. This February we asked them the same question, and 76% said they had seen that message monthly or more often, which is great. So we are getting there. It is next to every single bathroom. It is on the locker bays. It's all over. We work to build that recognition. Now we'll look a little bit at perception shifts. There's a lot of information I'm going to share with you. I will obviously share these slides as well. And then I just picked out pieces. I have more, like all of the data that I'm happy to share with you as well. So right now we're just looking at trends. So we started by saying, students, how often do you think most students at Rockridge drink? Last year, 43.6% of our students thought that most drank less than monthly. I recognize the language in this is very cumbersome, right? And part of the reason they do that is we're trying to flip thinking, because we often talk about how often students drink, how often students get in trouble. So we're trying to flip and look at it from the positive ones. In 2024, we had corrected that perception about 10%, so that 53.3% thought that most drink less than monthly. We asked, when most students at your high school hang out with their friends, do you think they'd rather drink or not? Last year, 27% said that they thought most would rather not drink, and this year we've increased that, so 37.5% think that most would rather not drink. In your opinion, do you think most Rockridge parents or guardians let their children drink? Last year, 69% said, no, I think most don't allow. We've increased that to 80.6% that think that most don't allow. And I think a lot of that is largely because, parents see the shirt and they're like, well, why is that on a shirt? And then they have conversations with you, which is what we want. It's fantastic. So for cannabis, how often do you think most students use marijuana? Last year, 48.9% thought most use less than monthly. This year, 61.6% thought that most use less than monthly. When students hang out with their friends, do you think they'd rather use or not use? Last year, they said 34.5% thought that most would rather not use. This year, 47.6% said that most would rather not use. And do you think that most think that marijuana is never a good thing for teens to do? Last year, 43.4% thought most would agree with that statement. This year, 54.2% thought most would agree with that statement. We asked a lot about vaping as well. It's a big concern for many folks. How often do you think most Rockridge students use a vaping or e-cigarette device? Last year, 27.2% said that most use less than monthly. When you think about that number flipped, that's almost 80% that think that most kids use all the time, right? So that's why we're trying to change the narrative. This year, we improved that perception to 34.8%. How do you think other Rockridge students feel about the statement? Vaping or using e-cigarettes is never a good thing for teens to do. Last year, 31.9% thought that most would agree. This year, we've increased that significantly to 50.8%. So we're still not at the perception that we want, but we are getting there. How do you think most Rockridge students feel about this statement? Parents and guardians should not let their teens vape or use e-cigarettes. Last year, 43% thought most would agree. This year, we have improved that perception of 54.7%. Now we'll talk a little bit about norms. So this is the actual norms of what students are doing. So this is a little harder to read. I'm showing you trends, that's why. You will notice that there is not a huge difference, okay? So I would say that there's not like that first question, there's not a statistically significant difference between last year and this year. How often do you drink alcohol? Last year, 90.5% said that they drank less than monthly. This year, 90.9% said that they drank less than monthly. So the way that this approach works is first we increase campaign awareness, we correct misperception, and then use decreases. That's why it's a 5-year grant, and they actually follow with data collection, they follow after the grant. This is still awesome. Over 90% of our students drinking less than monthly is fantastic. It's also still a really big problem that 10% of our students, that's what 110 to 120 students drinking monthly is a major concern. So it's not that we are where we want to be, but we're getting there. Marijuana, you'll see the same thing. Statistically insignificant changes in use rates from one year to the next. There's even just a slight bump in use. How often do you use marijuana? That we expected to see, and we are going to be very intentional with our messaging in the coming year because of the legalization of adult use cannabis. We also know, just anybody watching, we also know that students want their parents and caregivers to talk to them. So please talk to them about why you would have a concern about them using. And if you, as an adult, choose to use because it's legal, think about how you store your guns. Think about how you store your alcohol. Please store safely. So just because it's legal for adults doesn't mean it's safe. And unfortunately, a teenager taking a gummy may or not be noticeable to somebody. So please keep contact. Vaping, same thing. We see a little bit more improvement in vaping, which is great because it means to me that students are starting to get the message that there are some major concerns. Okay. So can we trust the data? That's always the question that is asked, and that's a fair question. So we do data cleaning, and by we, I mean there's an outside contracted service that has nothing to do with Rockridge or the Montana Institute that is paid to clean the data. I do not see any of it. I only get the aggregate information. So we had 894 initial responses. Surveys that were submitted outside of the survey period or outside of school hours were removed. We had quite a number where they only entered their demographic information and then didn't answer anything else. And then 3 that they went way too quick through the survey. So we had 756 good surveys. And yet, everyone lies. Can we believe the surveys, right? I still get asked that every time I go into a classroom, every time I go in front of a community group, even when I go in front of professionals that work with data. That's the question that I get asked. And so, like I said, we are one of 9 communities across the state of Minnesota that is currently in this cohort. And so the Montana Institute took a few of our questions and just laid the answers over for illustrative purposes. So students were asked, how often do you think most students in your school drink alcohol? And of course, there are going to be differences between us and Jackson County, right? And actually, if you'll see, it only says 8 communities. One of the communities was in between coordinators during the survey window, so they are not listed on here. But across 4,090 students, you can see that we have substantially similar experiences in high school. How often do you drink alcohol? Again, across 4,090 students, we had substantially similar responses. When you hang out with your friends, would you rather drink or not drink? Again, remarkably similar responses across 4,090 students. I don't know what kind of technology or coercion we would need to use to get that many students to lie in the same way, right? So yes, we can believe the data. I also reached out to our office and just to find out how many infractions we had at Rock Ridge. So we had 17 individual vaping violations, 2 that had multiple vaping violations, a cigarette violation, 6 cannabis-related violations, and 3 alcohol-related violations. Certainly, these are not the only infractions that happened. These are the ones that were caught. I am not the enforcer of violations. You can certainly talk to your admin team to find out why it's really difficult for them to catch things that are happening. But you will notice that these are small numbers. These are not hundreds of things that are happening. These are in the tens of things that are happening. It is still absolutely a major concern that there were 6 cannabis-related violations that were caught in our high school this last year. That's a major concern. I have kids in the school. I don't want them around cannabis and having that easy of access to it. But it is still a very small number of kids that are doing this. So one of the reasons we do this is because it works. So students who correctly understand that most other students don't vape are 6.5 times less likely to vape themselves. And students that believe correctly that most other students don't drink are 5.5 times less likely to report using themselves. Misperceptions of norms are a hidden risk factor. Okay, so, oops, wrong way. Whoop, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. So just like it's a protective factor, that if they correctly understand that most don't drink, they're less likely to use. If they incorrectly believe that most use, they are more likely to use. That's why it's a hidden risk factor. And accurate perceptions and norms are hidden protective factors. So my big ask for anybody that's listening and staff and the school board is when you talk about our students and when you talk about any concerns that you have with substance use, and we should be talking about concerns that we have and what we should do about it, but be very careful with your language, please, that you are not adding to misperceptions. Most of our kids are making healthy choices. So help to increase that by talking about it accurately. And thank you for your support. Most of our kids are making good choices. We're gonna keep working until we get as close to 0 as I can before I go.
Thanks, Cassandra. Any questions?
Good.
Any questions for Cassandra?
Do you use the actual statistics from the Minnesota Student Survey of the perceptions versus the actual behaviors? Or do you have your own questionnaires too?
Both. So the Minnesota Student Survey, the last time it was done is 2022. And so we used that, and the Department of Human Services was able to get a misperceptions question on there. So they have both the actual use and the misperception question on there, so we use that data. However, we also have a positive community norms student survey, which is it doesn't have a lot of the baggage that the Minnesota Student Survey has with many of the other questions that make people, that make it take so long and frankly make some people uncomfortable. It's only about substance use. So do you drink? If so, how often? And where do you get it? And do you vape? If so, how often? Where do you get it? Do you use cannabis? If so, how often? Where do you get it? And then the misperception questions. Do you think that others do? Those sorts of things. But it is only related to substance use. And actually, I have a pretty nicely put together key findings report that I can share with you that shows what kinds of questions are asked. So it doesn't ask, because our focus is on substance use.
And a lot of these questions are students revealing their illegal behaviors. How do you handle that situation?
Sure. So I don't ever see individual answers, and they only give us the aggregate data. So for example, I had a group of students that it was brought to my attention that they didn't feel like they fit in with the most. And so they wanted to know just the information about their sector of the population. And I was told that, no, we can't do it because it's too small. And so it might identify somebody. So these are completely anonymous. And even if I wanted that data because I'm trying to help, I am not given that because we want to keep everybody's identity private.
Yeah, I wasn't asking along those lines, but that's good information to know, but that it is, protected and everything. But just the fact that we're asking them about incriminating behavior that might have a kind of a legal bent to it too. But I know the Minnesota Student Survey does it too, and they go into many other areas. Mm-hmm. But I kind of have concern about that too.
Sure. Yeah, and it's hard. I don't ever want to put anybody in a compromised situation, and you don't know if you don't ask, right? Like I want to go forward with the best information that I can, and at the moment, this is the best way we have to do that while keeping kids safe in sharing.
All right, thanks, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is the 7.2.
You've already talked
Yeah,
about that.
I've already talked about 7.2. Okay. 7.3, high school graduation discussion and year-end discussion. Who's,
I asked to have them put on there.
okay?
I've been on the grad party circuit and have heard nothing but positives about the graduation ceremony. Everybody loved it, loved the venue. I thought it was excellent and thought it was well done. It seemed like it was glitch-free from what I can tell. I mean, it was, for the first time through, I thought it was really good. Only one thing that I heard was that it took a long time to get out of the stands if you were in the middle or up high. So if there's any way to get more access to the field, it took a long time. So I thought it was really well done.
And credit where credit is due. This is Mark Winters in the audience right now. He worked with the high school teachers and staff. And the custodians, there was a lot of work that went behind. So kudos to Mark and the high school teachers and the custodians and everyone else. They are the ones who really made it happen.
It was awesome.
I thought it was great too.
Yep.
The other point I wanted to add was I was at the Laurentian on the last day of school and waiting for my son to get released. And I was watching the paras bring their students down for year end, and it was really touching and really awesome to see how important they were to each other and how much of a connection they make. And just the send-off was really touching. They do an awesome job with those kids, and kudos.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't mean to dig up what we've already talked about, but going back to the city of Eveleth, I just want to reiterate a little bit what Tim said. If people from the city of Eveleth have issues with, potentially whether or not it happens where they have to pay more tax money to demo it at some point down the road or for any of the renovations that they want to do, they need to be reaching out to the city council and to let them know what their thoughts are regarding keeping those things. So just want to reiterate what was said.
I agree. Okay. 7.4, superintendent report.
A couple of things to update the board. First, I'll go to tell you what I said, Director Sorkin's request to bring to about budget and who's teaching what, the teaching staff. So as a school board, you've already told us which scenario you wanted to do budget-wise. And so you do have to approve a budget, and you'll see that at Andrea will have that for you at the next school board meeting. And so because you told us that you wanted to go with the second one, that's what we did. And so Andrea is putting those assumptions into the budget, and some staff members were not returning, and you saw those names at prior school board where you made decisions. And so we have done that. We have relied heavily on retirements or people leaving to try to minimize staff reductions. And of course, earlier you heard Paul advocate for the music department. We had some people moving in that area, and that's what caused some of that. So that's what we've done so far, is to try to go through retirements and people leaving. Doesn't mean that there can't be adjustments down the road, but your budget does have to balance. We'll also have information for you on what class sizes will be for next year, so you can see what they're like. And you've always seen this where especially in the elementary class sizes, how it's compared over a longer period of time. So we'll have that for you so you can also see that. But we're building those assumptions into the budget that Andrew will be showing with you at the next board meeting. Any questions about that topic?
Since we're on it, just the choir department, is there a plan for that, or?
Yes. So we have posted for the choir teacher, a high school choir teacher, and we'll see who we get, who we applies. We would like to, in talking to almost everybody, we would like to find someone who's interested in the musical, doing a musical. So that's a important public community thing that a lot of people miss, because we didn't do one during COVID, and then there were some other reasons. So that's one of the things we want to bring back. So hopefully we're looking for a superstar.
What about band?
And on band, we're on a hold right now to see, because of the budget. So for right now, we'll take a look and see who we get for the vocal. And based upon who we get, maybe we have to slide some things around as far as who's doing some band, who's doing some vocal. So stay tuned on that one. Second item to bring up, due bid, Evelyn. The Franklin building, that due bid is coming to a close. It's over. We have individuals. If you won the bid, congratulations. You will be able to pick those materials up here this week. We do not have another due bid scheduled. There is no time for anything else, so we put, that way it was such a massive due bid. We're over 1,000 of items there. So it's over with. I don't have dollar figures or anything else for you. We'll see what happens on the final one, but we will do our very best to make sure when people pick it up, it's done cleanly and people only pick up the items that they purchased. We'll do our very, very best on that one. But the due bid is over, and hopefully area citizens were able to pick up a lot of things that they could use for lots of different purposes. Last item, I just want to give you a sneak preview of it. Student behavior. You've probably heard via the grapevine or from parents or from some teachers that we had some student behavior that wasn't how we would want and expect Rockridge students to be. So I have been meeting with a group of teachers who have volunteered. They are K-12, and we are looking at some options and some things to do differently. So we're meeting one more time in July And I'll give you some more updates about, but there's going to be some very specific things that are going to be done differently. And a lot of them are going to be on the area of, because we do want our students behaving appropriately, and many do, some do not. So what we're looking at faster intervention. We're looking at doing it much quicker, letting the parents know much faster. This includes attendance, this includes behavior. This also includes staff members intervening quicker when students are misbehaving within a classroom or within a building. This includes administration, and this also includes all staff members. This also includes, we're talking about if kids do certain behaviors. If you do certain behaviors, this is what's going to happen. It shouldn't be a mystery. If you do certain behaviors, especially stuff that's really egregious, that certain things are going to happen. And some of this was because we have old Evans Gilbert and old Virginia teachers working together in the building for the same time, first time. We have new buildings. People are trying to figure out how the buildings work. But I want to let everybody know, we want things to go better. We need things to go better. And you are going to get some things, specific recommendations. Then I want you also to know that one of the things we're going to do is we also are going to, we need our students to work on how they approach and how they act towards all students. And I mean all students. I've had several meetings with some kids of color, and I asked them, how are things going? And I heard from them their viewpoint on how things are going. And I can tell you, we do have some students who are not responding appropriately, who are saying things they shouldn't be saying, who are doing things they shouldn't be doing. So don't be surprised if something comes up as far as we have to work on that end too. So we have to pay attention to all students, but I also believe we also need to pay attention to, we do have too many students who are not acting appropriately to certain kids for all sorts of different reasons. And we need that to go better because they're our students, they're in our buildings, their parents haven't trusted their kids to us, and we need to do right by them, and we need to do better by all of our students. So I just want to let you know, it'll probably be in no later than August, but I'll probably give you an update in July so you have an idea about what some of the things that are coming up in the fall. And this would be K-12. So just to give you.
So
an
your
update on
projection
that.
is that we're gonna have by that time, like a bullet point from what we're gonna do to be proactive before it gets to that point.
Like
Things-
specific
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
Specific things. So there's going to be a whole, I probably spent 6 hours with teachers, this group of teachers talking, okay, what's the problem? What are we going to do? Now what are we going to really do? And it's a bunch of things that we want to do because frankly, we are the district that should be doing this. We are the district that wants to prepare kids for working wherever so that they're treating everyone well on the range, and wherever they're also working, they're also treating people well, and they also know how to work with different people who are coming from different viewpoints, different backgrounds. We are the district that's best able to do that, and so we need to do improvements there, and yes, it's going to be some very specific. So it's not going to be something vague like kids will be nicer to one another. That's not what it's going to be at all. So stay tuned, I'll give you some more details.
Good, I think that's important for the community to know.
Yeah, thank you for addressing
staff.
it too.
And staff, yeah.
Because it's definitely been a topic of discussion at all the meetings.
Absolutely.
for us. So it's nice to hear that there's some progress being made in that area.
Absolutely.
So Noel, how are those things you're talking about going to be infused into our discipline policy, our student handbooks? Because if there are some changes that are going to be made more specifically, we're going to approve one of these already tonight.
And the teachers are working on it with the principals on making the appropriate changes, the recommendation to the handbook. So when you see the handbook, parts of it might look a little different. And so that's where some of it's going to come with the student handbook, because that's the one that guides the K-12, what administrators, parents see, kids see it.
Right, handbook, but our discipline policy too. And we might have to come and revise that after we've done it 3 times.
Yeah, that's on the docket here for.
Yep.
Because it's,
You might,
it's number 4. Is that one that, let's see, that we have to review? Could we put that one off to the side a little bit until we get more of that type of work? And
I would say let's hold off until we finish with the teachers and then come forward with the recommendations. And then once you see what we're looking at doing differently, then you can make some decisions about where you want to go on some of the other parts.
Not hold off now, but make those changes later, is
I
what
wonder
you're
if we
saying.
should pull the bullying
And
policy
that's what
too.
I'm thinking about.
Well, the bullying policy, you need that, because that's from MSBA. So a lot of what you were talking about, our practices, are going to be day to day. Because your policies are solid, because you're getting these from MSBA. We're looking for better practices and how the flow of things are working, so things are going way faster, way better for the majority of our students. So it's really the practices.
And a better flow of communication.
It's like implementing
That
it,
Yes,
implementing our policies that we already
yes.
have.
So it's
I,
going way better.
I think the key thing he said was intervention. So if you do something and we see it and nothing happens for 10 days and then I do it, well, I didn't see anything happen for 10 days. Well, now it's going to happen
Be consistent.
immediately.
Right.
And then I won't want to do it
Yeah.
because so that intervention will
Right.
happen more proactively.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about it too,
Yeah,
so that'll
me
be
too.
good.
Me too.
So I would say that we can pass these first readings because we always have that opportunity to revise going down the, we need something now.
Right.
All right.
I'm done, that's it.
Okay.
Treasurers.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan,
I'll second it.
support by Director Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Policies, we're gonna do this as a blanket policy, okay?
I'd like to separate 2 and 3, and then the rest of them can be blanket.
Okay, so we will do, you wanna separate 2 and 3. Okay, so for discussion?
No, just vote on them separately.
Okay, so 8.1, okay, school district policies, first reading. 8.1, 533 wellness. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger,
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll
support
second.
by Director Dahl. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 8.2, policy 606.5, library materials. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
You can take 2 and 3 together to save yourself.
Okay, all right, well, this is,
Do we have to do it
okay,
individually?
hang on, no. I asked for a blanket.
Oh,
But-
I see.
Well, then, I just
So we
want
got-
those 2, let's vote on,
Okay,
and then
we
3
got-
through 7, I would be okay
Okay.
with blanket too.
We've got a motion for 606.5 to approve.
Wait, no.
Both of them?
8.2,
He's doing
8.2.
8.2.
I'm doing 8.2.
You do 2 and 3 because it's part of the same one, it's just on the last page of,
Okay, but you
Number 2.
wanted them separate.
I
So
just
we're-
wanted those 2 separated from the rest.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna, but I separated them even more.
Okay.
Okay, so 8.2,
He wants the meeting to go longer.
Library materials. Can I get a motion to approve?
I already did.
Motion by Director Reardon. Support
Support.
by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes
No.
unanimous. Huh?
No, I'm just the one, no, that's all.
6-1. Okay.
That's all.
Okay, so the next policies are gonna be blanketed. 8.3, which is 606.5, formal requests for reconsideration of specific library material.
No, no,
She wanted that
no,
one
no.
separate.
I wanted.
You want
those
that one separate, Bill? Just do that one separate, then do 4,
Okay.
5, 6, 7.
That's right.
Okay, so that one is separate. 8.3, 606.5. Can I get a motion to?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan.
Support.
Support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. We're blanketing 8.4, 8.5, 8.6, 8.7. 8.4 is 506, this, student discipline. 507, corporal punishment and prone restraint. 8.6 is 507.5, school resource officer, which is a new policy. Okay, 8.7, 514, bully prohibition policy. Can I get a motion to
I will
approve
make
those?
that motion.
Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Director Dahl.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously on that one. Policies up for review, first reading, item 9. Okay, we're gonna blanket these,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
Support. One swing.
Okay, do you want me to,
No.
okay, the board is fine with that? To approve 9.1 through 9.14. Okay, any discussion? Okay, no discussion on how we vote on those? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve those?
Already made one.
Yuhan did and
Yuhan. Support. Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Administrative items. Okay, 10.1. Can I get a motion to approve 10.1?
Make the motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan. Support by
Support.
Director Dahl. Any discussion?
Just a question about both of those, the number 1 and number 2. Number 1 about health insurance might be pretty cut and dried about how often we have to go out and solicit bids and things. So you want to take the health insurance first?
Okay, well, we have an expert here, Andrew, who's been waiting very patiently in the back for the last 97 minutes.
So next year, Holly, you had a question about the medical insurance.
Yeah.
Next year would be our hit a bid. So
Next
we
year?
would have to go for that at that point.
And then what
And you had
about,
a question about the first 2 plans?
and then about the 10.2, you've got property liability and workers' comp. What is, I mean, how often do we go?
Can I go to that now, or do you want to finish on the medical?
Well, that's my question for both.
Next year, I believe that we would be looking at for 10.2, because we were still under the construction.
Oh, okay. So next year too, okay. So this would be 1 year for both of these?
Yes, as of now, yep.
Do we have any statutory requirements of what, how often?
We have to do the hit a bid,
That's,
and that is, that's a requirement.
that's the first one?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Got a motion by Director Yuan, support by Dahl. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I'm gonna abstain on that one, on the health insurance.
Brandy didn't vote, so
I did not. I wasn't here for it, so I'll abstain as well.
All right. So that would be a 5. Okay, 10.2, consider approval of the district's property liability and workers' compensation insurance for the 2024-2025 school year.
So moved, Reardon.
Moved by Reardon, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 10.3 was already taken care of. 10.4, consider approval of suggested changes made by the Northland Learning Center to the JPA agreement. A motion.
Can you point out those changes? No.
Yes.
Can I get a motion first?
Well, we can
Make a
have
motion?
I'll
discussion.
make that motion.
I'll support.
Letter, support Reardon, okay. How about discussion?
That's fine, but you actually can have discussion before a motion. It's not.
I'm running
it's
the
a-
meeting, Polly.
No, I know, I'm just saying, I wonder if you
Take time.
do you understand that you can have discussion before a motion, so, just so you know. We've done it before, haven't we? Go ahead.
Yes, here's what's happening. You currently are in agreement with the various school districts to make up the Northland Learning Center. This agreement has been around a long time. So you have made a decision to leave the Northland Learning Center. Now, there's an agreement that determines when you leave and how you leave. And it's pretty clear there's really no problem with that one. However, because Northland Learning Center is building a new building, what they don't want Rockridge to do is in the current agreement, there is a way you can tell them, no, we don't want to belong anymore. There's also a way for, like a year later, for you to go, we decided we want to stay in the Northland Learning Center. Well, that's a big problem for the other members of the Northland Learning Center because they're constructing a building based on the size of the members of the district. They are asking all of the districts to change the agreement to basically prevent a district from saying we're leaving and then a year later saying we're gonna stay in it. The agreement change says you can say that and you can come back to join them, but any additional construction costs, you're on the hook for. So if you decide down the road to rejoin the Northland Learning Center and they have to make it bigger to accommodate Rockridge, then you're paying for it. All of it.
And I don't see that anywhere. I don't see any changes in here. Is this the old one and not the one with the changes in it? 'Cause I don't see anything highlighted.
Let me look. It should be here. I verbally told you what the change is.
Okay. Get a copy of the final one then, huh?
Well, this should be it.
Well, it's not in here.
I'll send it to you. I have it.
Okay, and then wherever it says in here, the about notifying the NLC or the NLC notifying a member district, where's that language and when does that need to happen? We had a formal vote to set it, okay? And so I guess it's up for interpretation when that effective date is, the day that we voted.
No, it's not up for interpretation. It's very clear in the agreement.
I'm looking for that.
You have to notify them a year ahead of time.
A year ahead of time.
Yep.
So are we, or are we not going to notify, because we had a vote already? We need to consider again if we are going to notify them this year or next year. And that board hasn't had that discussion yet.
And I'm suggesting that you have that discussion at the next board meeting.
Okay?
Because if you say it's 2 years out, you don't need to notify anybody. If you say it's only 1 year out, then we do need to notify everybody before June 30th, 2024.
That's right, otherwise it would be the subsequent.
Correct, so you'll have
So-
that discussion at the next board
Okay.
meeting. Yep.
We need to, thanks.
It says, section 2 of page 13, withdrawal of parties. Any party may withdraw from this agreement by giving a 1-year written notice of the party's intent to do so to each of the other parties.
I know that language, but we have to decide whether we're going to give that one.
No, but you were saying you
You
didn't know
were
where that
saying
was.
you couldn't find it.
So-
I know that, I've read it before. I couldn't find the change that Noel said about if you pull out, if you decide to come back, then you're responsible for the extra building costs. That's what's not in here. I know that language very well, that's in here.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to all of us.
Yeah.
I'll send it to all of you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so can I get a motion, or, all those in favor on 10.4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let the record reflect Nicole Dahl had left the room. So it'd be a 6-0 vote. Thank you. 10.5, consider approval of services between Arrowhead Regional Consortium and Rockridge Public Schools. And motion?
Make the motion.
Motion by Director Yuan, support by Director Addy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes
One
unanimously.
abstention.
Huh?
I will abstain on that.
Okay, so it'd be a
501.
5-4-1. Okay. 10.6, consider approval of the nutrition program renewal of food service management contract, school year 2024-2025.
So moved.
By Director Reardon, support by
Support.
Director Yuhan. Any discussion?
I do. So it seems like every year, going back into even our old districts, there's like an automatic 3% increase every year. I mean, is that just built in, or is it really necessary? Or, I know it says up to 4.2, a maximum. Why is it automatically increased?
Well, it comes up automatically because you need to renew it and have a legal contract. It is in your strategic plan that we will look at running food service ourselves.
Right.
But with so much transition going on, buildings opening, buildings closing, business manager changing, we didn't hit it this year. So we're suggesting a 1-year contract, not a 3-year, just a 1-year. And then we'll be able to take a look at it this year.
And I concur with that, and I'm glad, because Bill's, it's been one of Bill's things for a long time, and I agree to take a look at it. But what if we proposed 2%, or 1%, or 2.5% instead of 3%? I mean, like I say, it's almost automatic. Nobody ever gets automatic raises in other parts of, our services and things. After a while, that builds up, a nice 3% every year. I think a lot of employees would like
Well,
that.
it is, and the only thing I would suggest to the school board at this time is to keep in mind, INAC doesn't have to do this. We don't have a plan B in place and have when you go to the grocery store, have those prices gone up more than 1 or 2%?
Yeah.
And what they'll do is they'll just cut the quality of the food and in order to hit it so they make it.
It's not only that, they're
They're
Their
not asking
employees
for
also.
it.
No, I just wanted to make that point,
But
because it's
you're
always
right.
automatic 3%.
Okay. 10.6, all those, any more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 10.7, consider approval of renewal of the district's 2024-2025 MREA membership.
So moved.
Moved by Director Sorkin. Support?
Reardon.
Any discussion?
Yeah, they have conventions too and things and meetings, and I know that the MSBA convention in the summer and the winter one, or whatever, is more popular, but I'd like, the board members to consider attending those too, because it's just it's just like MSBA, but, rural, and they have legislative platforms and everything, and a lot of good information, so.
Okay. Any more discussion on 10.7? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 10.8, consider approval of MSB membership dues and renewals of board book and policy services subscriptions for fiscal year 2025.
So moved.
Moved by Director Lotiger,
I second it.
supported by Director Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
No, it doesn't.
Huh? Oh, you can't. It's 5-0-1.
Abstentions this year, abstention out of you.
I just, more paper,
Yeah.
longer notes.
10.9, consider approval of contract from KY Interpreter for sign language interpretation services from July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Director Lotiger, support by Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 10.10, consider submitting a proposed resolution to MSBA to submit to legislator for actions at the Rockridge School Board. Would you like to encourage legislator to take? Okay, I guess I kind of know what that is. Can I get a motion?
Well, wait, I think that's just a
That's just a
suggestion.
statement.
Yeah, just a suggestion.
It's a statement that if I'm,
Okay.
what they're
Well-
doing this year,
Spot.
No, it's good. Tim, go ahead and explain. I think
what they're doing this year, they're changing when a school board can submit a resolution to be part of MSBA's platform. In the past, it used to run like from end of August through October 1st. Now they're moving it back so that school boards can do it sooner. And also a school board has to approve them. So that's why, that's the only thing. This is just a blanket statement. It doesn't, I don't believe have to be approved. It's just not that we are aware of it now.
Aware of it. This is simply for the school board to know it's there. You could do this. You can think about it, and we'll bring it back at the next school board to see if you do have a resolution you want to suggest.
And it could be ongoing too,
Oh, yeah, this is ongoing. This will run until
whenever, yeah.
Okay, so
till the end of September. They're
And the
asking.
other difference is that an individual used to be able to submit one
Right.
with or without a board, but you'd have to check the box. Is this an individual one, or did the board vote on this? And now they are accepting individuals.
Okay, so 1010 is just for information.
For right
And no
now.
action is needed. 1011, consider approval of resolution to expel student RR-X2-23-24 for the period of 12 months.
Make that motion.
Motion by
Support.
Director Yuhan, support by Director Lotiger. This is a roll call vote. Director Reardon,
Yes.
Director Lotiger,
Yes.
Director Yuhan,
Yes.
Director Eisner, yes. Director Westby,
Yes.
Director Sorkin.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Let the record reflect that Director Dahl re-entered the meeting at 7:51.
Boy, she gets me.
1012, consider approval of special education director and coordinator job description.
Make that motion to approve.
Director Yuhan. Reardon. Support by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Motion passes
6-1.
6-1. 1013, consider approval of a para-student support job description.
Make that motion.
Support.
Director Yuhan, support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion?
I have a question. Is this something, do we have this position now? Did we have a job? If we did we have a job description? And if we did, is this different?
This came out of the negotiation with ASME, so this is a new job description.
It's a new job description, but not a new job.
No, just, they wanted the jobs separated. They wanted a description for each one. Am I
So they
correct?
had more definition with what
Right,
they
and
were
what your
doing.
duties were, yep.
It's not a new position.
Nope.
Good, thanks.
Okay. Any more discussion on 1013? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That would be the same for 1012-2 policy on that. That was come out of if I do believe that came out of the negotiating. Correct me if I'm wrong.
1014 did also, I believe.
1014 came out,
10, or not 1012?
not
No.
1012.
Okay, all right. Okay, so 1014, consider approval of a school-aged childcare job
I'll
description.
make that motion to
Motion by
approve.
Director Yuhan,
Reardon.
supported by Director Reardon. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 1015, consider approval of the 2024 Rockridge Education Fund request from Angie Williams, Scott Manny, and Troy Caddy for the total spending request of $7,277.00.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Reardon, support by Director Dahl.
Is it in our
Any discussion?
Is it in our packet? Did I miss it? Is it in our packet? What it's about?
It is. There's a Rockridge Education Fund request list.
Oh,
Yeah. Virginia
Okay, I must have
Community
missed it.
Foundation.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Abstain, because I don't understand it. Okay.
Okay, 1016, consider approval of resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy.
So moved.
Director Lotiger. Support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Director Reardon.
Yes.
Director Lotiger.
Yes.
Director Yuhan.
Yes.
Director Addy, yes. Director Dahl.
Yes.
Director Westby.
Yes.
Director Sorkin. Motion passes unanimously. Meeting announcements, our next regular meeting will be held Monday, June 24th at 6 PM here in this building. And item 12, at this time, I would ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss superintendent's evaluation in compliance with statute 13D.05 subdivision 3A.
So moved, Reardon.
By Reardon.
I second.
Support by Director Westby. This time, we'll go into closed session and we will re-adjourn after closed session. Okay. All right, so we are coming out of closed session. We are back into open session at 8:53.
8:53.
8:53. All righty. What do you want to discuss about our closed session? Anything?
Well, I can go over you have the evaluation and we'll get you the blank. The only thing that doesn't tell you is what the questions were. So we'll get you a blank copy of that so then
Oh,
you,
it's so exciting waiting.
yeah, well, was it 50 minutes of discussion? So we've come up with, we are happy with your continued visibility in the community and in the state and in the nation, with what you do. Tonight we heard about your, developing with the staff, more discipline and faster intervention. We like that. Some of the things that we thought that we would like you to
Have goals on.
have goals on or do better, better communications with staff, community, and board members. The other one was, we really didn't have any mutual goals for you so we could kind of figure out how you did in the last year or two. So what we thought we would do is have you help us develop some goals for 24, 25.
Yep, we can do that.
And then, that was it.
That was it?
Oh, last one. There was much discussion about you interviewing. And if, in the future, if you could please contact, tell the board
So
in
we don't hear
advance.
from others. Since
Okay,
it's
fair
public,
enough.
Yeah.
That was it.
What do you, Director Sorkin, do you have any comments? You over there? We're ready to listen to you. What do you?
Would he please inform us when he's going to interview, is what you said?
Yes.
You're gonna please inform us, huh?
Because everybody's got that right, Polly, to
Yeah,
apply
we don't
for
have to get into.
positions. So we're asking
I
him to
don't-
please
We're-
be
we're-
ethical.
Appropriate, yeah, to get into it, right? I don't
No,
know.
we shouldn't get into it. We're asking him. If he does it, he does it, and if he doesn't, it's just one of our,
Courtesy.
it's a courtesy, so.
A courtesy, and we also talked about it being an ethical issue, not a
We're not,
contractual issue. And
let's not get into the weeds. That's all we talked about. So
at length.
that was it.
That was it. Is everybody satisfied?
Oh,
was discussed.
and I think on the back page, Noel, it was what does the last page say?
Oh, okay.
What was it?
3.96 out of 5.
Yep. So that was your overall rating from your school board. So
Okay.
No.
very good. Thank you.
And wasn't there something about discipline? About where we're gonna work better at discipline and bullying and stuff?
Mention
I
that.
did that.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
I
you
said, yeah, that was the second thing I said, so.
I thought you just said communication.
And I think we're gonna have further discussion, because again, I think that you should be involved in establishing some goals too, because
Yeah.
I'm sure there are goals that you would like to accomplish.
There's always goals in
Right,
Rich.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I said, for him to get back to us with so we can develop some goals for 24, 25.
Should put a timetable on that too, because summer would be a good time to do that and hit the ground running in September.
Sounds good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll go by second meeting in August. How's that sound? Or before, because I know he likes to get stuff done.
Okay,
Okay.
with all that, item 13. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
Director Dahl, support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion about adjourning? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.